everybody. Dan, mic up, Dan.
I'm here.
On.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna try to put this in my pocket for have to get up and move it. Okay. See how that works. All right. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call the Monday, March 17th, 2025 council meeting to order. Roll call. Councilors Bagley, Lovewell, Terrio, Kelly, and Watson are present. Councilor Smith is absent. Or did he come in on the Zoom, Penny?
I don't see that.
Okay. We can amend that if we need to. Would you like to do the invocation for us this evening?
I will, yeah. All right, please join me in an attitude of prayer. We pray for our country at all times, that all citizens are safe, healthy, and happy. We pray for wisdom for all those who guide and govern. Help this government body in every situation to know and to do the things that are right and just, with soundness of judgment in making vital decisions. We pray for the peacemakers, that the holy life-giving spirit may ever dwell in their hearts, and the barriers of fear, suspicion, and hatred may fall. This we pray to the Holy Father. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Item number 4 is the Pledge of Allegiance. If everybody would rise and join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I just love seeing myself on Zoom. Okay, item number 5 is the declaration of any conflict of interest. Is there any counselor who would like to declare a conflict of interest this evening? Seeing none. Item number 6 is public forum. Just a reminder to members of the public, if you do decide that you'd like to speak for public forum, we do ask you to stick to a 5-minute time, and you also need to make sure that you remember that this is a time for you to provide comments, but not necessarily to receive feedback from the council. That being said, is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak this evening? Okay, and Danielle, did you have anything for us? No. All right. Item number 7 is the acceptance of meeting minutes, and we do have minutes from the October 28th, 2024 council meeting, the November 18th, 2024 council meeting, and the December 16th, 2024 council meeting. Everyone had a chance to review those? Okay, what are the wishes of the council?
Make a motion to move the entire slate as approved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Further comments? All right, Bagley.
Aye.
Kelly. Aye. Lovewell. Aye. Terrio.
Aye.
Watson.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, item number 8 is like the most exciting part of our evening. So this is bid openings, awards, and appointments. And tonight we are recognizing the Caribou High School boys basketball team as the 2025 Maine State Class B champions. And we're also going to be recognizing Coach Corrigan as well as the 2025 Boys Big East Coach of the Year. So I do have something to read. The Caribou City Council acknowledges the dedication, hard work, and the positive impact that each one of our student athletes has on our community. From those who participate in Little League and the programs offered at the Caribou Parks and Recreation Department to those who play varsity sports as champion Caribou Vikings, we commend your strength and resilience. Caribou student athletes embody the spirit of teamwork, perseverance, sportsmanship, and their efforts are a source of inspiration for their peers and their community. We would also like to take this opportunity to commend the parents and family members who play a vital role in shaping their character, values, and supporting their academic and athletic success. Working alongside your student athletes, you celebrate their victories and offer support during challenging times. You help them to balance their commitments and achieve their goals. The Caribou City Council recognizes that coaches are more than just instructors. They are mentors, role models, and motivators who guide and support student athletes on their journey. Their expertise, empathy, and unwavering support are instrumental in shaping not only athletes but also our future citizens. The achievements of student athletes and the dedication of coaches impact positively on our community by fostering a sense of pride, unity, and sportsmanship. Their presence on and off the court creates a positive environment for everyone. Therefore, tonight, the Caribou City Council would like to honor some special student athletes and coaches from Caribou High School. By recognizing and celebrating the achievements of student athletes and coaches, the Caribou City Council hopes to inspire future generations to pursue their dreams, embrace challenges, and contribute positively to our community. So I am going to have you all come forward, and we have a little award for you. We're going to do some photo ops, and I'm so glad you brought that gold ball with you. Okay, so first up is Tristan Robbins. Congratulations. Chandler St. Peter. Colby Willette. Congratulations. Andrew Cummings. Congratulations. All stuck together. Sorry, bear with me. Here we go. Dakota Trombley.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Oh, you got two. Max Morrow. Congratulations. Braden Brusha. Congratulations. Hang on there. There we go. Cayman Sargent. Not here. Okay. Save that one. Declan Miller. Carson Richards. Owen Corrigan. Dawson St. Pierre. Oh, I gave you two as well. Oh, not here? Okay. Go. And Tyson Sargent. Landon Belanger. Congratulations. Luke Beidelman. Parker Adams. Caleb Kuklak. And then for our coaches, we have Ben Rosser. And Kyle Corrigan. Thank you. Sawyer Depre. Oh. Sawyer, there you go. Parker Depre.
Those Depre's.
Dustin Damboys. And then we do have one other award, and if I can just have that paper right up there. Ooh, I can't reach. There we go. Stretching. All right. So the Big East Basketball Conference voting for the 2025 year was done by the coaches and athletic directors of the Big East schools. Caribou received several honors, including Tristan Robbins on the first team and Cayman Sargent and Owen Corrigan on the second team. Each school recognized special awards. Dawson St. Pierre was recognized as the Scholar Athlete. Andrew Cummings was recognized as the Paul Soucy Spirit Award. And Owen Corrigan was recognized as the Defensive Player from Caribou High School. So that's amazing. Tonight, the Caribou City Council would also like to recognize that Caribou head coach Kyle Corrigan was named Coach of the Year. Congratulations to Coach Corrigan and to everyone recognized by the Big East Basketball Conference. Yeah, you get two. And everyone else's. All right, so could we get a quick photo, everyone? Yes, thank you. All right, council, can you kind of squish in back here?
We got some tall guys, so it's gonna be tough.
We'll make this happen. It's going to work. Tippy toes back here, everyone.
Want me to stand on my chair?
Stand on a chair.
That's what I was thinking.
Do I get to hold the gold ball? Can I hold it? I just want to hold it for like even a minute. This is so cool. I thought it would be heavier. Maybe I'm just really strong.
They're all so tall.
I mean,
I'd say go for it, girl.
I'll do it too, and it'll go.
I can do that. Do you want to pull some chairs up? Would that be better? Whatever you feel comfortable with is fine.
All the fist pounding it's ever taken, he'll be okay.
Todd, you want to grab Cayman? Todd, you know that. Keep grabbing Cayman. I think it's right here.
That's right, I'm not Manager Thompson.
There we go.
I think everyone can kind of squeeze in.
That's a lot of people.
We'll just put our arms
I can stand on my tippy toes. I don't want to hit Mr. Robbins in the head though.
a bunch of short women back here, guys.
Yeah.
We
I
good?
can't believe how tall Jody is.
How's it look, Mr. Graves?
We do exist. Until go sit down.
Thank you. Oh, hold on. Manager Thompson always gets her picture too.
Okay, I cannot see Joe.
You can't see any of us. We are short. I've even got heels on. I'm so short.
Would you like me to step on the chair and take a picture from up there?
That's a good idea.
Yeah, somebody smaller than me will have to there.
Wow.
It'll be a whole incident.
That's a real one.
Very open. At least Ken doesn't work here.
Stay safe up there.
Penny, why don't you go get in there?
Seems like more of
Penny, get in there.
That's a good idea.
Okay.
Good idea.
Right there. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Here we go.
Thank you. All right. Thank you for coming tonight, everyone. Hold on.
That
Who
looks
wants
great
to
with
take
your
this? All right.
It's a giant piece of jewelry.
That's great.
Yep, well, these guys grabbed
All right.
mine. Hi, children.
Guys, sit for a second. Mr. Graves is going to say something really quick. Back to your spots real fast.
Were there certificates in that, or did he already take that? No, we're good. Yeah, I think.
Did you get one for Coach?
Yes. Yeah, I gave it to Mr. Graves. Thank you.
I took Cayman and Dawson's.
Oh, thank you. Okay, thank you.
And I saw the picture standing.
So
next
just to
Co-
reiterate,
to Joe
we were here last week with the
at
girls,
Caribou.
but again, thank you to the city for supporting all of our programs. It starts at the rec with Gary and his crew. All these kids were a part of that program, and it's come full circle where some are working there and giving back to the community in that way. Huge thanks to the fire and ambulance crew for sending us out of town and receiving us when we came back. That's a big thing for these kids. It's the little things oftentimes that they're going to remember. So obviously they're going to remember the championship games and this gold ball and how special that was. But the shine in their eyes of standing on the bus with the windows down and seeing the community, appreciate what they did was pretty special too. So thanks to everybody involved and making this possible. And one thing when we're asked, it was a lot about community with this win and the crowd that we had in Portland. It was pretty special. So, we have great kids, obviously, which helped get us there, but we also have great coaches, and it ends with a great community for support. So thank you guys very much. We appreciate it. I think Mr. Rosser wanted to say something.
Thank you. My name is Ben Rosser. I've had the pleasure of being Kyle's assistant coach since he started 7 seasons ago. First, I wanted to say it's remarkable the support that a small town Caribou has. Whether it's triumph or tragedy, we've seen a lot of both, and this town always seems to come through. And these lessons these guys can learn from that, it's remarkable. It gives us a reason to want to stay around. It shows that there is opportunity in a small city like Caribou, so thank you for that. I also wanted to come here real quick because in addition to Kyle being the Big East Coach of the Year, it didn't get as much publicity, but he was also the McDonald's Coach of the Year, which is all of B North. So he represented Caribou at that game as well. which is a much larger pool of applicants than the Big East. So I wanted to also recognize him for that because. Thank you. Excuse me, Kyle. Thank you, sir.
Just really quick, I just want to say thank you. It seems like just yesterday we were here with, I was hoping Parker and Sawyer would be here, but with their teams in 2019, the support that we get from the community is huge. We have great kids, and they played so hard down there, but they didn't just do it for themselves or their families. They love Caribou. They give back to Caribou. We do a lot of free clinics. We do a lot of youth clinics for the kids. And they're great kids, and I just want to give you guys a lot of credit for that too, because I have gotten more compliments about your demeanor and how you guys handled yourselves in all of our tournament games than I have gotten compliments on play. Tristan, turn your phone off when you go. Okay, but in all reality though, I've gotten so many compliments on how they handle themselves on and off the floor. I remember a specific play against York. We had one guy go down, 2 of our guys went and picked him up, and then Tristan went and picked up the York kid. And nobody else was helping anybody up except for our guys. So big credit to you guys. That's a huge testament to who you are as people as well. And I just want to say thank you again. Really appreciated everything that the city has done for us. The send-offs with the police and the fire and the ambulance, that was amazing. I know the guys had a blast with that when we hit Sweden Street. The windows went down. And some of them were hanging out the windows a little too much. We had to reel them in a little bit, but they had a blast with that. And we thank you guys for that, because those really are the memories that they're gonna cherish. So appreciate it. Thank you so much for this. I know you got some business to attend to, so we'll get out of your hair. But thank you again. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you guys, unless you want to stay.
Come on in, Rick.
Yeah.
You're welcome to stay.
You can stay. We're talking budget.
You like my bag?
Awesome job, guys. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
See you.
I'm going to step down for 1 second. Deliveries to be made.
Thanks again, guys. We appreciate it.
Have a good evening.
I delivered.
Oh my
don't know
goodness,
what
look at
to
this.
do.
So we'll just take a pause from the meeting while we receive this
Sorry.
delivery.
Oh, goodness.
Thank you, kids. All right. Just pick what you want.
Wow. All right, I don't even know.
Yeah. They're written on the top.
That's so nice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
They said, and I delivered.
Sorry. I'm gonna give this a try here.
All right.
What do you want? One? You want one?
No, I'm good.
This is
Are you
a
sure they're really good?
They're written on the top.
Northern
Really good.
Sunrise.
I'm good too.
Sounds good.
There's Jolly Rancher, I saw that. Northern, I don't know what the red one. Lotus.
Thanks.
Pear, and then I don't know what that is, that one. Purple Paradise.
Thank you.
Blue and red raspberry.
Which
one do you want?
Oh, purple or red looks good.
Do.
This one's good.
I'm all
Okay,
set.
All right.
Lotus. We'll open it.
Okay, this is gonna get you
want
through
to try one?
budget.
No, I don't think so.
I can't promise you after that.
I'll do something for her.
Okay. Thank
I
you.
you and then I thought, oh my God, I can't look at it like this.
We resume programming, excuse me, sorry for that interruption. Yeah, there might be. You know what, Monin is all natural, and so that green one is,
Green one?
yep,
All right.
Thank you so
they're good to
much.
go with
Thank you.
that.
All right, we can commence the meeting. Okay, so item number 9 is public hearings and possible action items. We do not have anything on the agenda for that this evening. Oh, I skipped one, sorry, 8C. I got all excited with the other stuff under that one.
Yeah.
We have appointments to the Citizens Airport Advisory Committee, which is on page 22 of your packet. So the Citizens Airport Advisory Committee has 2 reappointments that need to be made. Additionally, there is 1 vacant seat that needs a new appointment. This is coming forward at this meeting as it was overlooked earlier this year. The applicants have returned their paperwork to the city clerk. So this evening, it looks like we have a reappointment of current members, Dr. John K-Rod and David Barbosa, and an appointment of a new member, Bruce Lavway. So what are the wishes of the council?
Make a motion to appoint Dr. John K-Rod, David Barbosa, and Bruce Lavway, each for a 3-year term expiring December 31st, 2027.
Seconded.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly? Aye. Lovewell?
Aye.
Terrio?
Aye.
Watson?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay.
I feel like you should clap after everything now.
I know, right? Okay, still no public hearings or possible action items with that. Item number 10 is reports by staff and committees, and up first is the city manager's report, so we will just hang tight for a second. This is good. They're all good.
Yeah, it's a weird silence.
Oh, no, it is an awkward silence.
How's everybody doing?
Good. Okay. All right, take it away, Manager Thompson.
Okay, so we have on page 23 of your packet is the beginning of your administrative report. So riverfront, the EPA will be demobilizing soon, and after that, an RFP can go out for deconstruction of the diesel plant. We still haven't heard anything from our application for the steam plant. Oregon Road dump solar project. So Maine Revenue Service has come up with new forms for the renewable energy exemption. So we're actually working with all of our solar projects to get these forms filled out and sent back. But I will say that we have had an update today, which is the company that runs this solar project at the dump, who has a lease with the city, we got a check from them today, so that's always good. Events and marketing, the Central District Chamber of Commerce annual dinner and awards banquet was held on Thursday, March 13th. Mary Marquis was honored with Citizen of the Year Award. Warriors Garage and Body Shop was the Business of the Year for Community Impact, and it was great that we had members of council there to celebrate with our Caribou people. Blight cleanup, the planning board met on Thursday, March 13th. Ordinances on blight and nuisance properties will be going to public hearing. For birdseye cleanup, we did receive the appraisal. The Caribou Development Committee, they held a work session on housing Wednesday, March 12th. The Riverfront Master Plan, the monitoring and compliance plan was submitted to the Northern Border Regional Commission, and the appraisals have been received on those riverfront properties. The facade improvement program, the spring application period is open, and those in the downtown TIF district and the RC2 TIF district can apply before April 15th. The Economic Growth Council met on Thursday, February 27th. So tax acquired property, this has been honestly the bane of our existence since the Tyler versus Hennepin County decision was handed down by the Supreme Court in June of 2023. So our state legislators in Augusta are trying to find some workable solutions for communities like Caribou. So I did provide written testimony on LD 745, which would be for properties that the city has held since before the right of redemption, which we have some of those, and I indicated that in my letter. We would still need to provide any proceeds to the previous owner, which the city doesn't really have an issue with that. It's really just a process to get to the point that you can do something with the property. Fire station renovations, Jim Gardner has drafted an RFP for review by the Municipal Buildings Committee. I believe he met with Chief LaJoy today at the property to work on a scope of work. The police station, the committee continues to meet with the design team to meet deadlines, and that's on the agenda tonight. I also have some things that the design team has sent for different finishes in the police station. And so if anyone wants to take a look at those, we do have those for your delight if you want to see what's in there. Comp plan update sections are coming together. Personnel changes, we do have a new office coordinator who will start work on April 8th. And administrative approvals, there was a St. Patrick's Day at VFW and a liquor license for both American Legion and Sizzle and Slice. The next thing to talk about here in the manager's report, for several months, we've been talking about the municipal budget and how that impacts the annual property tax bill. So tonight, the city council will be hearing from departments about further cuts to the 2025 municipal budget. So in tonight's manager's report, I want to emphasize again that the Caribou City Council, what the city council can and cannot control on the amount of the property tax bill. So in 2024, the municipal portion of the property tax bill was 41% of the amount that people paid. So if your tax bill was $1,000, then you paid $410 to fund your city departments: Public Works, Parks and Recreation, the Police Department, Library, Fire and Ambulance, the Nylander Museum, Emergency Management, Tax Assessment, Code Enforcement, General Assistance, the City Clerk, Finance Department, and Administration. So $410 of a $1,000 bill went to fund those departments. The other factors that impact our citizens' annual property tax bill. So the City Council has no control over the amounts invoiced to the city by the RSU 39 or the County of Aroostook. In 2024, the Aroostook County portion of the property tax bill was 10% of the amount paid. So again, if your tax bill was $1,000, then you paid $100 to fund the services provided by the County of Aroostook. In 2024, the RSU 39 portion of the property tax bill was 49% of the amount paid. If your tax bill was $1,000, then you paid $490 to fund the school department. Voters do have the opportunity to vote on the school budget in June. As stated at a prior meeting, Articles 12 through 15 raise funds for the proposed school budget. Article 12 raises the funds needed to receive the essential programs and services funding provided for in Maine statute. Article 13 funds the annual payment on the debt service for money borrowed by the RSU, which was approved by voters. Article 14 raises and appropriates additional local funds which exceed the State of Maine Essential Programs and Services Funding calculation. And Article 15 summarizes the proposed school budget. At the request of the City Council, staff has reached out to Maine Municipal Association legal team for questions regarding the current uncertainty of federal funding for education. MMA Legal has suggested that the city ask for an opinion from the RSU's attorney about what will happen if the state subsidy is not received. And I have not reached out to the school yet, but I will. The last page in the manager's report are our grant project updates, some of which we talked about during the manager's report, but all the updates are here. This is something that staff puts out once a month, just with the different highlights of what we have going on here. And I'll take any questions.
Do you have any questions?
Pending on LD 45 issue, if I understand it correct, if I understood your memo correctly, what that does is it allows us to dispose of the property outside of going to a real estate agent and listing it on the commercial market and going through all of that. We can go back to putting it out to bid for bids and selecting and conveying the property that way. Is my understanding correct?
You are. So if this was passed, then any process that was approved by the council could be taken, but only on properties that the city has held for more than, sometimes it says 5 years and sometimes it says 6, but the ones that we have that we've been trying to get rid of are over 6 years. So only on those,
So
because
it's that
there is a
part of it.
right of redemption, and so after that this is only for those properties. So any of the other properties would still have to go through the cumbersome process that's put forth by the state since Tyler versus Hennepin.
I might have asked this question last time, but do we know how many properties that entails?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
But let me make a note to ask the finance department.
I think we said we were gonna just kind of wait until
Yeah.
we knew what the outcome was, but.
Yep.
Mhm.
Make a plan from there.
Mhm.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Item number 11 on the agenda is unfinished business, and tonight that would be a discussion and possible vote on the 2025 municipal budget. That's on page 27 of your packet. So to kind of summarize, at our last meeting, we did have a public hearing. We did not hear from any members of the public during that hearing. We did find that there is a projected $1.2 million shortfall between expenses and revenues. So we did ask staff to see if they could take a look at their budgets and present somewhere around a 10% savings if possible. That would help lessen the impact of the tax bill on taxpayers. So this evening, department managers will present their proposed cuts and the effect that they will have on citizen services. I don't know if we want to just go in order of what's in the packet,
Well,
or?
I think some of them want to speak, but some of them are okay if you just wait and
Sure.
see if you have questions. So,
Okay.
I don't know.
I would
Does
just, I guess,
anybody-
open the floor
Yeah.
up to anyone who would like to come up and speak.
Okay.
Come on up, Dave.
So Dave is Public Works, which is department number 40. So the discussion would start on like page 9 of what you had at your desk today.
So I went through my expense budget, and there really wasn't a lot to cut out of that, but I will talk about a couple of them. So the salary lines, I proposed a $25,000 cut in the salary lines because I anticipate being short-staffed. We really have not been short, maybe just a little bit up to this point, but I can see that there are others coming. So I feel fairly confident in saying that we'll have a $25,000 reduction there. The diesel fuel, I feel comfortable in cutting a $10,000 out of that. I looked at the usage, where we are compared to where we normally are, and I think we'd be all set with that $10,000 cut. I also looked at the salt, rock salt that we use, and other than some really bad storms here in all of March, it didn't, because we were so late in the season, it didn't require a lot of salt. So I look at where we're at in our budget compared to what we need left to finish out November, December. I think we could do a $25,000 reduction in the salt cut. So the next set of cuts, and if there's anything in that budget that you'd like to ask, why don't we do this or why don't we do that, I could probably answer them questions right on the fly anyway. So now I'll go to my capital. You probably remember me talking to you folks about adding the streets and roads account. It was sitting at a pretty good amount of money. I asked for another $165,000 that I wanted to use towards additional paving in the country. I really would like to do additional paving, especially for the country roads, because once we change from the chip seal process to the paving, chip seal roads should have had something done at 7 years, but because we switched the program, we didn't fund any extra. We have some chip seal roads now that are 10, 11 years old. So what I was trying to accomplish with that was it is another mile, 2 miles, whatever we could do with that 165 on, because I felt as though our reserve accounts were adequate if we funded it. If you choose not to do that, that's fine. I'm a firm believer in asking for what you need, and then I believe it's your job to fund what you can. So if you can't do it, that's fine. The other item that I thought we could reduce by $5,000 was in the building reserves. At the time that we done our budgets, we had $34,279. Some of the things down through there was like a $5,000 that I wanted to put towards like boilers. I think if we back that up 1 year, it's not going to be slap you around the hand type of deal. So I recommend we could take $5,000 out of the building reserves. And then the last one, which is a big one, as you can see, our parking lots are down to $4,300. I had made a suggestion of putting additional $50,000 in there. Wasn't sure if we would do any parking lots this summer or not, but I kind of feel like we're kind of leaning on the parking lot side. Last year, we did the fire station, and I mean, just the back of it, and that was $73,000 to give you an idea. So as far as parking lots, just so that we're all on the same page, we still have the Herschel Street parking lot that's going to need to be done sometime in the near future. We do have the library parking lot that should be done at some point. And then probably the worst of all the parking lots is our own public works. We always do our own stuff last, right? This is not how it works. But once again, if we don't fund anything towards it, we just won't do anything in parking lots. If you want to lower that amount, I mean, once again, I ask as a manager of the department, and you as a council fund what you can. I'm good either way. I just, as long as I've asked, I feel as though I've done my part of the job. Any questions for me? And that should be somewhere around $280,000 reduction, which is not quite 10% of what you had asked for, but that's where we're at. Any questions from anyone?
I do have a question about the street reserve.
Yeah?
Now, you were explaining to us about the different processes between the chip seal and then the paving.
Yeah.
How is that going to impact putting those off as far as looking to next winter and having to go and do road cleanup? Is it going to start tearing the roads up? Is it going to be more costly to not fix what needs to be fixed? Or you're not going to really see, I mean, how serious is that problem?
So the reality of it is the worse that a road gets, the more the potholes. I can tell you at this time of year, if you look at any road and you judge it, you could judge the quality of that road by how many potholes are in it. Them are weak spots. It is not your fault, it is the council's fault, it's not my fault. I'm the one that suggested that we stop the chip sealing and try paving. I'm finding that we're having excellent results. The end result is we didn't increase what we pave each year. We stayed with the same amount of money, not to put a burden on the taxpayers, and I was okay with that. But what it does do, we've been doing 7-8 years, and roads that should have been chip sealed by now are not getting chip sealed because we are no longer doing that process. Now keep in mind, we still have $357,000 if we don't fund a penny into it tonight or whenever we approve the budget. If you as a council direct me to take $150,000 of that and go do some extra paving, that's what we'll do. But although $357,000 sounds like a lot of money, it's really not. I remember a time when we had over $400,000 in the account, and by the time the River Road failure happened, we were able to use the money out of that account to pay for the houses that we had to buy there, and we paid for the engineering, and that line was depleted. So I'm glad to say that we have $357,000 in there, and the $165,000 that I asked for was not to make that $500,000. It was to use it for additional paving. So to answer your question, it's not a disaster if we don't do it. It's one of the feel-good things. You know what? We'll just do a little bit more patching, and we're going to survive. We'll survive it.
My question to you is, at some point, okay, and don't get me wrong, I'm just trying to get a feel for, and I can't hold you to the dollar because I know you can't do it. But when we get into this paving, pothole repair business,
Yeah.
okay, at some point, that becomes its own little internal nightmare cost, you know, because a good example is you will fill potholes, they'll do well until the first freeze, and then, you know, they start to break down, or you hit them with the first winter plow and they're gone.
Yeah.
You know, at what point are we throwing money out the window because we didn't do what we should have done up front?
That's a very good question. So I can tell you that every dollar that the department spends now filling potholes is with a cold patch material.
Right.
Cold patch is not ideal, but it's what's available to us.
Mhm.
And the problem is, anytime the water is running down a wheel rut or down the side of the road, that gets into whatever we make for a patch. And as soon as that freezes at night, that lifts the patch out and it crumbles apart. The patching that we do during the summer, where, you know, you have 60, 70, 80, 90 degree temperatures, them are pretty permanent patches.
Okay.
They don't destroy themselves. And I think I'd like to mention just one other thing here. So on our paving, that's on our expense side, so
Right.
we're switching from capital over to expense. I do have it broke down. So 120 is the shim and patch, and you can see that we have just about, well, we have 45,000 in what I call where we go and pave ourselves. It's a little bit here, it's a little bit there, it's a little bit here, and it looks terrible. It's not, I would not claim to be a paving company. But so places that are many potholes or alligated, all cracked, come and delaminated, we will take our crew and we'll go out with our little paver and we might do one side of the road for 100 feet, 200 feet, and then it stops, and then it might be the next side of the road. Believe it or not, that really, really adds up on the amount of time you can get on the other end. So already in our budget, it's been the same for years, we have 45,000 for our crew. At some point, at some times, depending on how close we are, I may make the paving company do that. They use a little more product than us, but you can't make them leave a road and go 5 miles down to another road to go do 1,500 tons or 300 tons worth of paving. But if we're close by and they can travel their equipment, I'll let them do it. There's really only about $4 a ton difference between us picking it up
Okay.
or them laying it down. I'd much rather them lay it down. They do use more product. Ours, we kind of drag it out and it's dragged to nothing, but I've seen where we do that ourselves, where we can buy 2 additional years for a year before it's back to that point again.
Okay.
So we do have $61,000 in the expense budget that we can use towards the hand patching that we do and or the shimming that we do with our own little paver.
Because if we're talking about rural roads, you know, and of course, I think the best road to talk about when we talk about this is the Madawaska Road.
Yeah.
Because the amount of farm traffic that moves through there is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then you have school buses, then you have, you know, people who live on that road. And as that road deteriorates, especially when you get into the winter months, you know, and the snowbanks tend to get a bit closer, you know, and it's just the natural occurrence of stuff. It becomes a real nightmare if the road's degraded to the point where being a farm kid, it takes a while to stop a full bulk body.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the road surface underneath you in decent condition, then throughout our history here in this town, we've had tragic accidents over time where that's come to play. I would rather err on the side of caution and say, okay, let's use a little more material and make sure everybody's a little safer. That'd be my spin on that.
So one thing that I noticed is, and it's no disrespect to anybody, but any roads that you may travel, you notice them compared to the big picture. I don't know if you're on the Madawaska Road 4 times a week, but how often are you on the Buck Road or maybe
no.
the East Green Ridge, you know what I mean?
No, I agree with all that.
Yeah,
I'm just
so-
using that one as an example.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
The problem is,
Yeah.
is that we tend to think of, and I agree with you, we tend to think of what we can see here in
Yeah,
our
that's
community.
right.
And I think that's not a bad focus, but we still have to pay attention to the folks who are living rurally to make sure that they're getting okay too. I can being born and raised here, I can name off several million roads that I think I wonder to God who created them and why we still maintain them.
I agree with that statement as well. I do want the council to understand too that the roads that we do have, we are not seeing fatigue with very poor infrastructure. Some are better than others. Madawaska Road happens to be a pretty good road, if you want to know the truth, as far as structure goes. The surface is played out.
Yep.
The surface is played out. There's a life expectancy for all that, but the way we can tell is how bad is a road wheel rutting. So when you have wheel ruts, it can be one of two things. It can be, a good example is right here on High Street. It's not that old. Watch the water run down High Street. That didn't happen because of poor infrastructure. That came from rapid, or not rapid, but continuous in them tracks motion, and the hot top actually comes apart.
Yeah.
I can see it on the side of the road. Madawaska Road, structurally pretty good. I would feel confident in putting an inch of overlay on that road. And just the Madawaska Road is probably the entire budget that we have in the expense for this year. We would probably have, so we go back to the expenses, there's $575,000. If we divvy it up and make it somewhat equal in town or in the country, the Madawaska Road alone with a 1-inch overlay would take the entire half of our country paving. And I'm not positive that it's the worst one at this point.
No,
So-
agreed.
So what we do is, I have this nice tool that I built, that it scores a road according to the surface structure that's on it. It really doesn't take into account for heavy equipment. It really doesn't even account for traffic counts. Every 2 years, either myself or my supervisor, we go out and we score the roads and we rechange them in the tool. So a paved road is going to try to bring the score down to a 70 by the time that it's 12 years old, 13 years old. When it was in chip sealing, we try to have that same score down to 70 by about 6 years. So we are getting more than double, and some of the roads, to give you a good idea, 2005, so 20 years ago, the Watson and Ogden Road was terrible. It really was. So my crew went out, we done some digging in places and replaced the top 2 feet. One place we actually were deeper than that, and then when it was all said and done, Lane's Construction did a 1.5-inch overlay on that road. And we're to the point now, the last few years, we fill a pothole here and there, but the road is still pretty structurally sound. You're not gonna get that with just a 1-inch overlay, because, well, you'll get longer in the country, but I'm still thinking 14 years probably for most country roads.
Okay.
Not the rule, just on an average. Some roads we may get 18 years, other roads we're gonna get 12. The Madawaska Road does have a lot of traffic. I don't disagree with that. Thompson Road is another one. The Thompson Road really needs some structural work, especially down, it's in that low spot there where Phil St. Peter lives, right in that area. There's a lot of heaving that happens. Once the frost season's done, that levels off and things stay pretty good, but the heaving is crazy. So no matter what you put for surface, it'll take a toll.
I think Councilor
Yeah,
Terrio had a question too.
I just wanted to make a comment about, a few years ago, we decided that we were going to try to stop kicking the can down the road.
Yeah.
And I'm worried that with this, or with any of some of the other budgets that are going to be decreased, we're going to start kicking the can down the road again. And if we start doing that, then next year it's going to be more money. It's going to hurt this year, but next year it's going to hurt more. And if we wait another year, it's going to hurt more. But this stuff eventually has to get done, and the longer we wait, it just gets worse and worse and worse. So I'm not in favor of taking out something that you had planned to do or whatever and push it to another year or whatever, because if it needs to be done now, it's gonna be worse next year, it's gonna be worse the year after. And so, I know it hurts, but we have to keep our infrastructure up, and we can't keep going back to kicking the can down the road again and again and again. We know what that's like.
Yeah. I would agree with you wholeheartedly.
We have done really well in the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, don't go back.
So I keep a score. Remember the tool I was telling you about, the road conditions? Please understand, it doesn't take into account for heavy farm equipment and trucks, and it doesn't account for traffic. But I call it a PCI score. It's how well are our roads. And I'd have to look again in the morning, but I think we're around 84, 85% good. Now, that doesn't mean, that means on average. You take all the roads and you do an average in the lengths. And we're at about 83 or 84. And our country roads are around 76. That's why I wanted to concentrate a little bit more. When we first started, many moons ago, I can tell you that the council was happy if everything was above 70. If we are at 70% good, they didn't want to drop below that. So we're still above that. And I can stand here tonight and tell you that I prefer not to make them cuts that I've suggested in the capital. I'm okay with the ones in the budget. That's going to be a given. And to be honest with you, if we don't take them out now, they're going to be left at the end of the year. I am not a department head that spends foolishly in November when we see that we're gonna have X amount of dollars. I don't go hog wild. I have turned money back in as well as other departments as well. I have turned money back in, so take it tonight, or take it, December 31st. It really doesn't matter to me. I just wanted you to understand where we are with the capital, because that's where the big one. There's $220,000 in the capital. As a department head, as a manager for the highway department, I would prefer that we fund them items. I understand from a council level, if that's not doable, I'm okay with that too. I think every one of us here will all agree that Dave is trying for the most, and he'll take what he can get. That's really honestly how I feel about it.
I disagree.
Thank you.
I disagree with Councilor Terrio. I just don't want us to get behind a power curve to the point where we have to go and hurt the citizens over and over again to get the bare minimum of what we need to get done.
We have been there over the time.
Oh, yes.
We have been there.
Lived through it here with you. It was not-
And I can tell you that I've seen a lot of changes in the 20 years that I've been director. And the kick in the can, I bet I've heard that expression 300 times.
Because it's
over
been
the
done a
years.
lot.
And I'll be honest with you, the council in the last, I'll say 4 or 5 years, they've done very well. I know they put a lot of trust in me, and I appreciate that. And I think everyone understands that we're not trying to do something above and beyond the ordinary. We're trying to maintain, and I'm pretty proud of the department for that.
Thank you. Does anyone else have anything to ask Dave?
Okay, I'll be sitting right there if anybody needs anything.
Thank you.
I'll probably step in once or twice.
Does anybody else want to come up and talk about their department?
I'm gonna engage in the ball, so you haven't got the gun.
Good evening. So I'm just going to go right to the expense budget and start off with training and education. So I did ask for a little bit more in 2025 for training and education by moving other items around in 2024. So we can put the training and education back to where it was in 2024. And probably just have to start getting creative with some of the things. My biggest concern with that, though, is K9 ACE. So the handler is out on surgery, had a pretty significant surgery. which means K-9 Ace is out as well. In order for K-9 Ace to keep his certification, he's gonna have to go to 2 trainings a month.
That was my question.
That's in Bangor, sometimes Portland, Ellsworth, I mean, they go all over the state. So that's my biggest concern with that. I don't wanna lose the K-9, I don't think we should lose the K-9. K-9 Ace is the best K-9 in the state of
No.
Maine, and it's been said several times.
No.
The janitorial service, I think Penny and I have to talk about that a little bit more because I believe that's a contractual thing. I'm willing to cut that.
But then that puts the burden on the police officers themselves to clean
It does.
above and beyond public safety.
It does.
And I don't think police officers should be doing
Would it
that.
I don't agree with it either.
beneficial- Would it be beneficial?
That's the reason why we don't clean the pit anymore.
Exactly.
Would it be beneficial for us
Dangerous
to
and-
finding us our own janitorial person that we could share?
The uniform
He's
budget,
talking about, that's what he said he was gonna talk to her about.
Okay.
we could bring that back to 2024, plus $500. And that basically puts us right at, well, pretty much bare bone, because this year, 2024 budget, now, of course, that wasn't my entire budget, I came in July, so take that for what it's worth, but, we tear a lot of uniforms. We don't always deal with, people that wanna, work with us, so sometimes we fight, that's just the nature of the game. So we tear a lot of stuff, which means we have to replace uniforms, scuffed boots. If you can't get your boots shined, that's a big thing for me. Uniform is a big thing for me. How you look, how you present yourself, and the public sees that. Travel expenses, we can decrease that by $1,000 to $700. And again, that's basically for incidentals though. We have a travel budget for the academy, for training, so the expenses is for the incidentals. Say if we have all cruisers are down, somebody has to use their own personal vehicle, we can help them with the fuel. The cell phone / cruisers, that's basically the hot spots for our cars, so we can stay connected throughout the city for our laptops and such. And we can decrease that line from 93 to 65. We can also decrease our prisoner meal line, and we can decrease our medical supply line. That's basically going to be the drug testing part of that line.
Can I ask you a question?
Mhm.
If you decrease a hotspot, what's that gonna do?
It's
I mean,
dangerous.
I'm really nervous about you guys decreasing that. I mean, that's your lifeline.
So the decrease in the budget, in the line, you'll see in capital, we're just gonna go forward with a 2025 Cruiser. So that's a hot spot that would be for that car. That's what it would be. It's a monthly charge, so you buy the unit, or you get the unit from US Cellular, but it's a monthly charge.
Right.
So there's still enough in that line.
I just
for
don't
what
want to
we
see you
have.
decrease it to the point where you guys are actually putting yourselves at jeopardy, not being able to get a hold of someone when you're in Timbuktu and something's going on. I mean, that makes me nervous.
Yeah. It's not a good call there.
But you're saying that wouldn't actually impact the use of the hotspots? You're
It
saying
wouldn't.
that this amount that you've suggested wouldn't actually impact the use of
It
those?
wouldn't.
Okay,
It wouldn't.
just making
Okay.
sure to clarify that.
I got nervous. Sorry.
In the capital, we could take, obviously not get a 2025 Cruiser and take 32,591 and some change, roll into 2026, and just keep that rolling throughout the years. In the capital, our gun replacement, we typically went every 7 years. I was gonna try to go every 6 years. But I guess we'll go back to every 7 years, so we could take that $3,000 for 2025 and just move that to 2031. I'm not nearly close to 10%. I'm only at 78.9. But that's what we have.
Okay, any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else like to speak? Gary.
Good evening. As you can see, the rec center, Department 50, we had reduced it down. I can cut about 4,000 off my heating line. That's about what I can do. As you can tell, the last couple of years, we had reduced Department 50 lines, expense lines by quite a bit. The Parks Department is budgeted below last year's budget, and I was gonna cut out $2,000 out of Parks and Maintenance and Civic Beautification, but realized that my heating line was not going to jive, so I had to take those $2,000 and put it into the heating line, so that's a wash on the Parks Department. But going into the capital, as Director Willett had indicated, we're kicking the proverbial can down the street. It's past Florida now. I think it's in Cuba. And we're just keep kicking it. I agree with Mr. Willett about not to decrease our capitals as much as we want to. It all depends, it is the council's decision on what you guys and ladies do. I have shown some decreases in my reserves, but rec center is going to need a new roof here in the next 7-8 years. We've got to put money into that account. We do have a significant patch work that we're going to need to work on in the parking lot this summer. I've reduced my van reserve. The van is a 2015. It's in very good shape. I think we can hold off another year on putting more money into that account. But again, it's just pushing it down. Next year, we're just going to ask for it again. The equipment reserve account, I decreased it down to 0. We're doing okay. The lawn reserve, we also decreased it down to 4,000 instead of 5. So if we don't reduce, great. If we do, we'll deal with what we're given by the council. But as in expenses, I think my department, my 2 departments that I oversee, I have cut them as bare bones as we possibly can get. So what I proposed in that one is the $4,000 reduction on the heating. We're pretty much, I'm all set for right now in the heating line for the rec center for the rest of this heating season. Hopefully it gets done here in April, but we know sometimes we can heat our homes right up until the end of May into June sometimes. But I've got quite a bit of fuel in the account in the tank, so I think I'm going to be okay there. But on the park side, I can't reduce any more as I'm less than it was last year as it is. And as Mr. Willett said, whatever's left at the end of the year, obviously we give it back. We don't go out foolishly spend in November just to make our line 0. That's not something that we do. You have any questions on what I proposed? Thank you for your time once again.
Thank you. All right.
Good evening. So, starting with the expense budget, I went through and looked a little harder what we could possibly reduce. Looking at the heating fuel line, the last couple of years we've managed to keep that number somewhat lower, and with the installation of our new boiler in the beginning of the fall, I'm hoping that line will stay down. So I was able to come up reducing that line by $5,000. So initially I had asked for 25, and I'm bringing that down to 20. So Then jumping down to the diesel line, also that on average has been staying at a lower cost than previous years. So I felt comfortable reducing that line by $5,000 also. So bringing that from $25,000 down to $20,000. The employee physicals, I had planned on placing the 9,200 that I had asked in the capital to do testing for cancer presumption for our firefighters. So I've opted to take that out and push that back a year, and hopefully maybe look for maybe funding that next year. So that's $9,200 that I'm taking out of there. Also under the capital, I had asked for some uniform items, the jackets and the dress uniforms. I've kept the jackets in there but moved them to the expense budget at $5,600. And the $8,800 I'd set aside for uniforms. I've reduced that to $4,400 and savings of $4,400 there to the expense budget. Also under the capital, we had $8,800 for replacement batteries for our hydraulic tools, which I realize taking it out of the capital, but it is something that we need to definitely look at because those batteries are almost 10 years old, and that rescue equipment is a vital piece of equipment, especially during motor vehicle accidents or anything like that. So we should look at funding that part. Any questions on the expense part of it? On capital, of course, my department was well known for having the biggest capital ask for this year. We've struggled for many years without having reserve accounts with the department, so my plan was to hopefully try to get that going again so we could place some money just to prepare ourselves for some of the equipment that needs to be replaced in the future. With the recommendations from the committee, the capital committee, they reduced that line from $1,314,200 to $456,100, and I was fine with that. They made quite a few changes. I looked at it closer the other day. My suggestion on line number 4, which was $125,000 towards Unit 22 for the replacement of that unit, to reduce that to $100,000. So that would take $25,000 off the top of that. Number 11 was the $9,200 that I mentioned in the expense budget that is taken out of the capital. The $8,800 for the replacement hydraulic tool batteries, that was placed into the expense budget, so that was taken out of the capital amount. The $8,800 for the dress uniforms was moved to the general expense account and reduced to $4,400. And the $5,600 for the winter jacket replacements, that was sent to the expense budget, hence taking it off the capital amount. With my changes to the capital, that reduced it down to $407,500, a savings of $48,600 from the amount of the $456,100 that the committee had come up with. So the combined expense and capital savings I had of $72,200, which I do realize is not even close to the 10% that the council had hoped that I could cut. I will agree with Director Willett and Mr. Marquis that, the kicking of the can down the road, but in the capital part, these are the items that I'm asking for, and obviously, what the council approves is, we can work with it. It's just trying to prepare for something that was taken away many years ago, so it's going to take some work in order to get those back. So. I don't know if I have any questions on anything.
Can you comment on the impact of those capital items that you requested and were not recommended by the capital committee. I had some concerns with those, and I wonder if you could just describe what the impact of not getting those capital funds will be. You said you're okay with it. What does that mean? Does it mean you didn't really need it to begin with, or does that mean that
No,
you
so
can live with it and put it off, or are we kicking the can down the road?
what we'll end up doing is, you know, an ambulance that we want to, or we try to replace every 10 years, just because of technology advances and just the wear and tear on the ambulances. I've already had to push 2 of them back like another 2 years, but I don't want to do that too often, because then we're going to be, you know, 15, 16 years, and that is way too long for a piece of equipment that is, you know, we rely on for emergencies. And we're entrusting, you know, we have a patient in the back, so we need to have equipment that is up to par. I don't want to have to push anything back. We've always had a good replacement policy at the station, keeping our equipment up, because it's, everything we have is life-saving equipment. So we need it to be working properly, and we need to have the right equipment. So the ambulance reserve is a big one, because the cost of the ambulances have just skyrocketed so much. So I mean, I can ask for a lot more, but, you know, I realize that we're not going to get it in one day. So if we can pick away at it and at least get some money in there and get it working for us.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Did we ever venture down the road of what it would cost versus owning one to renting one?
I have not personally, since
on
I've
the
been in the seat.
agenda.
But
It's on the thing.
Something we've talked about,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
It's, in fact, that's one of the items that we took out of the capital, was a new fire truck, because we put in there that we were going to look into leasing that. Also, one of the ambulances would be not a full ambulance like you do, but a van that would save a lot of money. So there's been things that are still there, just differently. You know, as far as what we also decided to maybe look for, instead of doing a fire truck next year, let's have it inspected independently, see if it can go another year or whatever. Just because it's 10 years old doesn't mean that it doesn't work, you know, so we wanted to look at that. Just certain things that we wanted to look at that maybe would save money in the long run and get an extra year or something like that out of it. So that's where a lot of it went.
Because, and this is not even comparing apples and oranges, but in the military, we gave up owning vehicles, and we went to the rental aspect. And what we found is what we were paying for in vehicle costs, which is compatible with what you pay now, that maintenance all of a sudden was gone, because that belonged to the rental company. Our job was to say, okay, your unit, you know, this is non-functioning. They either repaired it right there on the spot, or they brought us another unit. And we did not notice the change because we were paying the rental payments. You know, the sadness that you get into this is that these items cost so freaking much that no matter what path we take, we're always going to be making a payment to somebody.
That's right.
So we should be shuffling the cards as best we can to make sure that what we are paying, we're getting the maximum out to us and not being saddled with the incidentals that go with it. You know, I mean, a good example is you go out and you buy a defibrillator and you think you've got the best of the market, and then the standards for the American Heart Association change, and the very next thing you've got to go out and buy 6 more new units because the 6 you have no longer qualify or are allowed to be used. You know, those are things that under the rental agreement, we just make phone calls and say, when are they showing up? You know, I think if we're going to look at our constituents, I think, and say we need money, I think that's a better way to sell that to them. So that's my spin.
Well, and there's contractors, big contractors, that's what they do. They lease all their equipment, you know, and things like that. And sometimes I think it's probably the best way to go if possible.
Oh, yeah, especially for a community that, you know, is having a hard time with funds. I mean,
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure.
I do have questions. So I think I'm a little confused, and I just want to get clarification. a lot of these items seem redundant or duplicate, and I'm just trying to make sure that we're not saying we're subtracting them, but then you're adding them somewhere, so they're actually not, that's still part of the budget, so that's not a reduction at all. But also, when I'm looking at things like, well, I mean, for example, is number 11, the cancer prevention, taking it out on capital side and on expense side. I want to make sure that's not being added up to be 18.4 when it's the same expense that was being moved to one pool of money and then removed, because it's still just $9,200. So I want to make sure the math is right on that. And then there's 3 different categories, and I know we talked about this a little bit for uniforms, but on 070-01 for uniforms, under expense, there's 8,800. And then down below, it says, so that is actually, I see it here, it is duplicate. So there's several things that look like they're duplicate, and I just want to make sure that we're not adding that up and making $72,000 in reductions when it's actually like 34.
Originally, those items were put in the capital because they were over 5,000, but when I presented my budget, council felt that those items didn't belong in capital.
No, I remember that
Yeah.
part, yeah. But I just mean when we did the math here on savings, yeah.
We still owe, the money's still going to be spent just in a different account, right?
Right, well, what I'm saying is if it was originally here in capital, but then it's removed in the math, but it's also removed in the math for expense, it's only one expense regardless.
Correct.
And I want to make sure that we're not duplicating each one. So basically, just because, for example, cancer prevention is under capital for 9,200, and we removed it there, and he also had it under expense for 9,200, we're not taking off 18.4 if we cut that. So I want to make sure that the actual cuts line up with the math, because it looks like there's several duplicates there, which would be like half the cuts. And I want to see where that is. So, and because some of these things sound the same, like uniforms, I want to make sure that those where we are looking with those too, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right.
Anything further? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else from our department heads? Anyone else that would like to come speak? Okay. I think at this point, I would be interested in hearing any thoughts from the council.
I don't know where to start. I'm going to talk a little bit, but I think when it goes, I'll just start with Dave, because Dave started with us, and that's a good place to start. I would like to see the 165 be left in there. I could be okay with the boiler money going. I think that seems reasonable. The parking lots, it sounds like they might be understaffed anyway, and they're not planning on getting to those, so I could see not even having that in the budget possibly. And then, of course, these first 4 items, the salary, all those things. But I would like to see that street reserve for major repairs stay in there, because again, as much as I don't want to cost the taxpayers money, this is part of what we have to do. We have to fund the projects that keep this town together, and half of the budget comes from other departments or other areas too. So for our small piece of the pie or medium piece of the pie, I think we need to do the best we can, and we have to consider for those things. If we cut everything out, we're going to have issues down the road. So I think that taking the reasonable cuts that that he presented otherwise would be good. I don't know where else to go here. With the police department, I definitely agree that K-9 officer should be funded. I don't want to see that get lost, especially with all the other things. All the work that's been done, and knowing what a good reputation this K-9 has, I'd really like to see us keep that and fund it. Of course, the janitorial, I think, is not something we want to put on the staff. I think that's something we should keep in too, but I could see some of the other costs be decreased. I think that they were reasonable, and even if it hurts a little bit, I think a lot of those were reasonable cuts to be made. So Yep, and then I do have some concerns just about the math, and I'd like to just verify that on the fire department side. And with the rec, I felt like those were decent cuts, so I didn't have any major issues. But you know, I'm just not sure about the reserves, if that's something we want to be cutting or not, if we want to continue to fund those like we have been. They're not huge amounts. We could always remove them if needed, but again, yeah, those are my thoughts.
Thank you. Anyone else on the council have thoughts on this?
I do. Again, I think the reserves on the fire department, that's what the committee, most of that was what the committee took out. And it was because of leasing versus maybe buying, you know, things like that. I think they've done a really good job, basically, overall, on this budget. And it's going to hurt. I know we need these things. We can't run our community without spending some money to keep up the infrastructure, to pay our employees, to have a good fire and ambulance department. And I would rather see the budget pass as presented. We don't have to spend it, but we can have it if something should come up, and we can do our best to cut back as much as we can without kicking the can, so to speak, or whatever, or taking away from something that really needs to be done. And I don't know if we can set up a separate account that would show that money into a separate account. It's money that hopefully we wouldn't spend on the budget, but it's got to be there because we can't add to this budget if something comes up, but we can vote it the way it is, set it aside so that we have it if something should come out, and do the best that we can to spend just what we need and have that left over and not use it. And then come June, if it looks like that's the way it's going to go, then we just reflect the tax mill on our end of it as not going up as high as we thought it was going to be, because it doesn't look like we're going to use that money. And sometimes we're going to be able to, by then we probably will have a good idea of where the city is going. But I would rather have it than not, and then be in trouble and not have the money to spend. That's just my 2 cents, and that's
Is
where
your
I feel.
suggestion then just to kind of relook at this before we actually set the mill rate then, but not waiting
Yeah.
until the end of the year?
Yeah.
I mean, that
Yep.
makes good sense
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I would agree with Councilor Terrell. Kudos to everybody, okay? Because this hurts. But in the same respect, I agree with you. Your savings, the majority of you couldn't give the 10% that you needed to.
No.
And that's an indication that we've cut so much fat that we're actually scraping the bone. And there has to be a point where we say, I'm terribly sorry. It's going to suck everywhere and the whole place around. But to go, I think, again, kudos. I agree with you. I think this is too deep.
Well, and not only that, but we don't know yet.
That's
Again, you know, we've got months up here that it could be more tariffs or more this or more that, you know, so we don't know. And to cut ourselves short, I don't think is wise.
Yeah, we don't know what the RSU budget's going
Nope.
to be. We don't know how much more
The
state
county.
money is going to be affected.
Yeah.
We don't know what the federal government's going to do as
Yeah.
they plod forth. I think we get something solid. We stick with it, and we'll adjust it as we need to.
Right.
But if we keep trying to be so overly proactive, we're going to end up cutting ourselves and bleeding out before we get to the point where we need to do it.
We're going to have to take some really make some hard decisions that people are not going to be happy with.
I mean, there's still time. There's,
Mhm.
you know, I'm not trying to procrastinate, but there's still time, and we can
Yeah.
make good decisions based on that. So I agree with you.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else? I have a couple thoughts, but did you have
Yeah,
anything?
well, my priority is infrastructure and capital, as is mentioned. I mean, I think that's the most important thing that we have to preserve Though I look at it kind of a little bit differently. I think we should preserve all of our essential services, fund them at 2024 levels, make them live within those constraints, and then whatever additional cuts have got to come from the other departments. But I do want to preserve the capital requests as well as 2024 actual levels in the essential services, meaning fire, police, and public works. I think that's the only fair way to do it. If we're, as we go down this road, very difficult road, for sure, but that's where my priorities are. We've got to preserve our essential services, capital, infrastructure, keep up with that. And if we have to start cutting services and personnel across the other departments, we're not bringing in a lot of new businesses and residents. We're not growing that tax base right now. And I do not support continued taxation of our citizens, to pay for all of this stuff going forward. So that's my view on it.
Thank you. I also agree that I think we need to try our best to preserve what we have in capital now. And I'm impressed with the cuts that everyone made. I know it was going to be hard to get to 10%, and I don't think anyone on this council wants to see departments going without things that they need, and without us being able to provide essential services. That said, and there are things in the expense budgets that, some of our department heads pointed out that they could potentially cut, but I agree, for an example, with the K-9 officer, that's something that we need to try to preserve within our budget. And there are other things as well. I guess my thought would kind of be along the lines of what Councillor Terrio said, in that, now we have some things to go by here. So if we were to approve the budget as it was presented at the last meeting, I think we have some things here to look at. If when we get down the road here and the RSU votes, and we see what happens with that budget, and when we see what happens with the county, we may have to go back to some of these things that we have had presented to us tonight and make those cuts. But at this time, I would support kind of seeing where we're at in the next few months and then making them from there, because we can set the budget with what was presented to us last week. That's not a problem. We can still cut that before we set the mill rate. But we can't put more back in, so.
Yeah, that's a very
That's
good
my,
points.
that's my thought.
Good points.
So what are the wishes of the council?
I would make a motion to approve the 2025 municipal budget as presented.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Bagley?
No.
Kelly? Aye. Lovewell?
Aye.
Terrio?
Aye.
Watson?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay. Item number 12 on the agenda is under new business ordinances and resolutions, the construction bid documents on the proposed new Caribou Police Station. In our work with Artifacts, we did ask that they have all of our materials to us by March 15th, which they did deliver. So they delivered our entire package in terms of the construction bid documents, as well as a cost estimate. I believe everyone has a copy of the cost estimate. I don't think everyone has a copy of the 1,000-page construction bid document packet, but you all did receive a link to that. So hopefully everyone had a chance to look those over.
I'll say for one, I did not. I looked at it very, very briefly, but I think a lot of work needs to be done still in review.
What are the wishes of the council?
I'll make a motion to accept the construction documents and work with Artifacts to develop and prepare documents to put the project out for bid.
I second it. We have a motion and a second. Further discussion?
Yes, please. Question, just for clarification.
Sure.
What we're talking about is if we proceed ahead, okay, we're talking about this price, this 9.9 million that's actually under the 10,
Correct.
Yes.
And that's a
And-
cost estimate. So when we put
Agreed.
the project out to bid, they're gonna, we'll get bids back and then we'll have to see how those come in. But
So-
yes, this is the cost estimate at this point.
So we're not looking at, I guess from what we talked about earlier, we're talking about 9.9, subtract the 2.5 off that takes us down to what, 6.5, I think, roughly? Yeah, that's.
Right around 7.
Yeah, right around 7. Throw
'Cause
some
that's
st-
close to 10, so you take 25 off, that'd be 75. right?
Yeah, so realistically, that's, I mean, the mandate to the city council was under 10.
Correct.
So the only concern, and we talked about it before the meeting, the only concern I have is with, state, federal, and the hoo-ha that's going on that doesn't make any sense for anybody. That may throw a monkey wrench in this yet again, that would be beyond our control. But I think if you're looking at something for 9 or less, then I can support that, whether I like it or not, I mean, we need one,
do.
and this is a reflection of kicking the can down the road. This is the best we can do
8 or
at this
9
point.
years.
Yeah,
I know, right?
for sure.
I mean, the price we're talking about now, way back when, was a fire station and a police station. Now we're gonna be lucky to hold on to a police station. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that, thank you.
Sure,
So a
absolutely.
clarification on the clarification. So you said that, I'm looking at the total project cost at 10.178.
Yeah, we have.
And the items at the bottom are potential deductions. We would be giving something up for those things. So,
It's not really giving up, it's just alternates that can
The
bring the
alternates,
price
right.
down. And so
Yeah.
by going with those, which doesn't, it's not going to affect the integrity of the building or anything of that
Right.
nature. It's just an alternate way that we could construct
right.
this.
So the cost estimate
It
as
brings it down
designed
under
is
the-
10.178, and there are some options to reduce it to 9.9.
I think that those options have already been basically the options that the committee has discussed and said that we would
Are
want to be going
recommending.
with, yes.
Are
so.
recommending, okay.
So that holds us at that 9. I mean, I could see supporting it if that's our number. If it's the 9.9, I could, without.
Well, you'll have to wait until
have
the
to
bids
wait
come
But
in.
until
No,
the
but
bids
you know
come
what I
in, we
mean?
don't know
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
it's
They
going to
may be
be.
less.
Let's tell the story about the school again.
Yeah,
No,
that's-
Jan
frustrating,
clarifying
yeah,
Rick
but-
point too, it's
What's
tell you a
that?
whole report on
borrowing.
that.
Yeah.
Correct.
So
Correct.
we actually have 12 million if we factor in the $2 million grant,
Correct.
correct? So,
I would rather not.
But the way
factor
that they
well,
were
you're going
able
to
to
get it,
come
I'm going
in
to factor
with
in the
this.
$2 million grant. I want that money to come off the top no matter what, but,
Right, yeah.
So, yeah,
And
you-
that's what will happen with that.
yeah.
Yeah, but I'd rather see it come off that 9 than off adding it to a 10.
Well, I don't disagree, but it's not a huge difference in cost either way, to be honest. If you look at the 10.1 or
Yes,
the
if I gotta go out and
9.9.
talk to the taxpayers and say, hey, buddy,
No, she's talking about
I'm
the
saying when it
10
comes
the-
off.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I'm just saying these two estimates, so.
Those two.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
we're just still following the instructions as originally laid out is my point.
Correct,
Either way.
correct.
I fully support a new police station, but I continue to believe that we are building a police station that is too big and too expensive for our needs, and I cannot support this plan.
Further discussion? Bagley?
No,
Kelly? Aye. Lovewell?
Aye.
Terrio?
Aye.
Watson?
Reluctantly, yes.
Aye. Motion carries. So we can let the folks at Artifacts know that.
Well, I mean, just looking at a very cursory look at things, and I know Jan has looked at this and Jan and I have talked. What we have is not complete either. I mean, it's 95% there, but there's still pages missing. There's still things that have to be updated before we can put things
I
out to bid.
noticed that.
We have dates that have to be put in. We have to correct places where maybe there's the wrong town or county, or it's got Central Maine Power instead of Versant, and even this morning looking at you know, where they're showing some extra flagpoles, extra fencing, you know. all
Right,
of
but I mean,
things.
those are minor adjustments
Right,
and
exactly.
edits that we
It's-
made
it's
before we signed, you
95%,
know.
Yeah, it's not, I'm just saying, if people decide to go through the 1,038 pages, just know that there will be at least 5% corrections to these things. And I haven't got nearly all the way through because, you know, I spent my time this weekend working more on the budget than the police station. Maybe that was a waste of time.
I want to make one comment too. Jan,
I know, the queen.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Without her, I don't know what we'd have done. Oh, my goodness gracious.
Agreed.
The
Absolutely.
time that you put in and.
Yes, we're having.
Thank you.
No, I know, we're not done yet,
I
but.
just want to say, if any of you take a look at everything, and if you see something, let me know, and I'll put it on my list, because
Yeah.
I'm, you know, I can't catch everything. No plans are ever going to be perfect, I don't care who
Right.
has them, so
Yeah.
keep that in mind.
No, thank you very much.
We ought to have at least a room that says the Jan.
I know,
Murchison.
I agree. I've been thinking about that too. We gotta-
Or it could be the kitchen.
Yes.
Kitchen.
When are you planning to have this go out to bid? What's your timeline?
Fairly soon.
Yeah,
As
this
soon as we
month.
can have the documents
This month, maybe.
prepared.
Yeah.
It will be Artifact that puts the bids out, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So,
Yep, exactly.
Now, we're going through this final round of crossing the Ts and
Revisions,
dotting the
yeah,
Is.
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's very close. Everything that we're finding now is just tiddly stuff that just, it's like, okay, don't forget to do this. And there's a whole section they can't fill in yet because we don't know exact
Mhm.
dates and stuff we're gonna put it out. So we have to wait on that until we get to that point. But I'm hoping to get through everything by the end of the week and submit that.
Yeah.
And,
So
Getting
I would
close.
hope that we would have the bids back by the May meeting. I don't know if that helps you with your,
well,
I would
right?
think
yeah,
June.
'Cause I don't-
have to bid the end of it,
yeah.
well, we are
I would think
middle of
June.
Middle of May.
Yeah, we're in March,
Yeah,
yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
So, put it out
Yeah.
first part of April, it takes
Yeah.
good 3 to 4 weeks minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have to have time
So-
to receive those and
Yeah.
ask questions
Yeah.
and things like that too.
Talk about all that.
Yeah, talk about things, yeah.
So, all right, well, thank you, everyone. Okay, item number, where are we? 13, reports and discussion by mayor and council members. Start with Councilor Watson this evening.
Okay, in a meeting at a committee and in discussion with a few people in the community, and I know this is going to be broached in a different area, but I'd like to put it on the radar. We've all been kicking around this janitorial contract services thing. And I think maybe we possibly should consider having one person that we hire that we share. That way we have total control, and maybe expand that out to be a handyman person also. So that oddball stuff can get done here and in the long run save us a dime or two. There's a lot of credit needs to be given to the people who are filling in on that now, and thank you for those efforts. You know, your staff has done a great job. I saw some of the things they were rushing around to get set up for various other things, so they need kudos for that. But I think it's to the point now where we probably need to think about taking a hit and just owning a person to do that specifically.
We actually had that conversation today.
Oh, I did not know
Here
that.
here in the office, yeah.
I did not know that, but
Yeah.
yeah, that would be my suggestion. I think it's time that we own a little bit more of that, and that will probably solve some of the issues that everybody's concerned about. That's all I got.
And I think that's come up in the past too, but I do think we
Yeah.
need to just move forward with something like that. And I do think it would be an effective way to take care of not only the janitorial piece, but as you said, if
Yeah.
there's minor repairs that need to be done and things like that, I think that it
And we
would
would,
be advantageous to do it that way.
yeah, because at that point, we wouldn't be bidding for contracts. We'd just be paying for material and a salary. I mean, that's far cheaper than what we're doing now.
Yep, nope, for sure. So something to look into.
And I think we have enough hours between all the departments to make it worthwhile for that person that gets picked up.
Counselor Kelly, anything you want to share? I'm happy the police station is where it is. I'm glad we're closer to getting the budget done. I'm excited for Caribou boys and their win. And I'm happy the snow is melting.
Amen.
Amen, for sure. What she said.
All of that stuff, all of that stuff.
I'll take a little of her thunder.
I'll just third it.
You're going to third that?
Third that.
Counselor Bagley, did you have
Just,
anything? Did you want to fourth that?
No, I just had one thing. Penny mentioned something about the planning board meeting in progress. The last planning board meeting I attended on the 27th, another item of note is that ACAP have brought in a plan to convert their child care center into small apartments. So if you haven't heard that, that's in the works, and that's really great for the
Where
city.
they going?
And for ACAP. So there'll be, I think they number around 19, if I remember right. Do you remember?
I
It was
can't
around that.
remember.
It was around 20 or so
Because
apartments.
there's a couple
Oh,
of
I didn't
other
realize it was that big.
subdivision lots that are hallways, so I don't remember
Yeah.
how many are units and how many.
They had to come in as a subdivision request.
Mhm.
I didn't understand that, but anyway, planning board passed it, so stay tuned for further details on that exciting
Very
project.
cool.
That's great. And I was happy to see that they're moving forward with the blight, blight removal. And I guess that's some type of a proposal that someone came forward with last summer, I want to say. It's been a while, so I'm glad to see that that's moving forward. That's really great. Yeah, and the other thing I'd like to, I don't want to put Gary on the spot, but Caribou Mill Pond, are we going to be able to move forward with that?
Moving forward, but it's gonna be in construction year 26 due to permitting and licensing and trying to find a passageway designer.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to make sure that the community was aware of where that was headed to, so,
Still on.
which is very exciting. Great. All right, well, that's all I had. Our next regular council meeting,
The safe has moved.
oh,
So it's
Sorry.
not to do with that, but I do have some information about a DOT project that might be coming out, if you'd like me to share it with you.
Yes, I want to.
Sure.
Why don't you go, yeah, go there so people at home can hear.
Sounds like paving to me.
So as you may be aware, I'm talking about Bennett Drive where it comes onto High Street. Has anybody noticed the barricades that
Yeah.
stops the dogleg? So, the infrastructure in the ground has failed. It has failed for a long time. When DOT did High Street, they knew about it then, but it wasn't funded in part of that project. It was only a year, maybe 2 years after the basin started to collapse. They actually done a scope job, and they looked through the pipes. The pipes are deteriorated to the point where there's 3/4 of a culvert there. Mr. Bob Watson from Region 5 DOT happened to be in town last Thursday or Friday, noticed the barricades across there. Remember, we got the inch of rain and we got the snow behind it. It just couldn't take the water. So rather than let the traveling public run through that, because you never know what fails when it's underwater, so we barricaded it off. I have had a little conversation, and I don't know if this can happen, or if it even be the wishes of the council. That's why I bring it up tonight. Me personally, I'd like to see that dogleg go away. I would much prefer to be the way it used to be. There's 2 lanes, one to turn to go down the bypass, there's one to turn to go down High Street. That dogleg, I don't know if anyone's ever noticed, but 1/3 of the people will pull up that intersection and veer to the left so they can see down what's coming up over that hill.
Yeah.
I do believe that it's DOT-owned property. They own the little island that's there, or they have the right-of-way within that. In talking with Bob Watson, that infrastructure, 2 basins, which Public Works has filled with rocks so that they didn't collapse. Our rocks are holding it out so it doesn't implode. That could be just as a stab in the dark, $250,000 for repair on that section. I know that things are expensive. Me personally, as a public works director, that's why I'm bringing it to you tonight. I think that we don't have to make no decision tonight. We don't even know if DOT can do it. But when they're faced with $250,000 infrastructure repair, which belongs to them, or if the citizens, the council, or whoever the deciding factor is, let's peel a hot top out, let's put some loom, plant it in grass, and go back to the old way. No decision has to be made. You guys can talk about it. I have started the ball rolling with the DOT. Bob Watson has told me that he would see what would have to happen from their side to even make it work. I told him that I would share the information with the council to let them know what's happening, or potentially could happen. I don't know if that'd be the summer project. When the water's not in the road, I feel comfortable with the traveling or traffic going on there. I don't feel that we are in that dire of a failure at this point. The pipes are deep, there's a lot of coverage. I don't think anyone's gonna sink. But when it's full of water clear to the top of the curbing, we really don't know what's underneath. So out of caution, we will close that portion. I'll be honest with you, I've heard good things about it being closed, so that'll be a decision for you folks. I really did just want to make you aware of it, that's all.
Okay, thank you. That'll be a
Thank you.
good item for a future agenda here coming up for sure.
I think at this point, it's probably in the DOT's court. Maybe they can't even make it happen.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, our next regular meeting is April 28th, 2025. Item number 15 is executive session, and this is executive session for economic development pursuant to 1 MRSA Section 405(6)C. What are the wishes of the council?
I make a motion, we do that.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
I need a full motion.
You have to say the whole MSR.
Oh, you're killing me.
I know.
But you just did.
I
Can
know.
you just copy and paste, flip? I make a motion that we go to executive session for economic development pursuant to 1 MRSA, whatever that is, 405.6.C at this time.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly? Aye. Lovewell? Aye. Terrio?
Aye.
Watson?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay. Well, I thank you all for joining us this evening. And that concludes the public part of our meeting this evening. And turn your microphones off.